Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Thank you very much for joining us for this inaugural In Conversation With series. We are very pleased to be holding this conversation with a cohort of young Now Generation Network members, Mo Ibrahim himself, the chair and founder of the Mo Ibrahim Foundation, and Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, Ibrahim Prize laureate, as well as former president of Liberia, who will be joining us shortly. We have you for 1 hour, and we're very excited to set up a very organic conversation between, a very intergenerational conversation between Mo Ibrahim, Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, and a cohort of Now Generation Network members who you can hopefully see on your screens now.
So let us start the conversation because we would like to hear from you more than actually we talking to you. And let me just, before I ask you to introduce yourself quickly so everybody knows everybody, I would like to welcome my sister, Her Excellency Ellen Sirleaf, and really welcome to this. And I think this will be a beautiful dialogue, and not every day we can have President Ellen chatting with you. So I'm going to be in the background really and let you have that dialogue with her. And I hope it is not just one direction dialogue. You need also monologue. I mean, it needs to be a dialogue. You need to also tell us what you think and challenge views, etc. So I look forward for a lively discussion between you and President Ellen. I'll ask you just very quickly to tell us, just in 10 seconds, who you are, where are you now physically, and what are you doing? So also President Ellen have an idea about the group of people she's interacting with.
I'm Adila Kodabert. I'm from Mauritius, currently in Mauritius. I am a lecturer in international relations at the Mauritius campus of Middlesex University.
I am Carl Molan, and I work at EcoBank Foundation. I'm calling from Lomé, Togo.
Hi, everyone. My name is Ahmed K. Kone. I am the founder of Smart Liberia, and I'm currently in Liberia. It's an honor to see you here.
Hello, everyone. My name is Hanan Taifour. I'm currently the Mo Ibrahim Fellow at the International Trade Center. So hello and salam. It's very nice to be amongst my African brothers and sisters. Very excited to be here. And thank you. And I look forward to the discussion.
Greetings, everyone. My name is Eliam Kadewele. I'm a current Mo Ibrahim Fellow at the United Nations Economic Commission for Africa in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. Thank you, and good to see you, everyone. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Mandipa. I'm currently in The Hague. I'm doing my PhD at Leiden University, and I was a scholar at SOAS in 2017.
Hi, everyone. My name is Musa Kondam, the country leader of Accountability Lab Mali. I'm based right now in Bamako. I'm also the chairperson of IIAG Youth Youth Network and Civil Society Pillar of the African Union.
Hi, everyone. Gertrude Kitongo from Johannesburg. I'm a producer at CNN International.
Hi, everybody. My name is Taimi. I'm currently in Windhoek, Namibia. I am leading all discussions on policy, regulations, and government relations.
The discussion today will be focusing on the issue of governance and the index and what we'll talk about that. But our intention is to have a fortnight meeting. Every 2 weeks, we'll have a meeting, and it will be the same time, same day of the week. So it becomes something regular, but it will be also more about the current affair and the current issues. So we need to have a discussion about the issue of vaccines, the issue of the African debt, the jobs. We need to, and you also make proposals, what topics you want to discuss. So we can really have a lively interaction. And we will bring every time a guest of honor I mean, today we have, you know, President Ellen. Next time it will be a different senior person also. But we don't want to talk down to you. We want to have a dialogue. That I keep saying that. So please, let's have this kind of interaction so we enrich each other. And with that, I will hand over to President Ellen to run the discussion. Good afternoon, Madam President.
Thank you, Mo. And let me say what a wonderful opportunity this is to be here and exchange with you on how you view the performance of African countries. The Ibrahim Index of African Governance has been collecting data from every source to be able to report over a 10-year frame to all 54 African countries how we stand as countries, as African countries, individually in our performance under these 4 areas, you know, of participation of rights, security and the rule of law, human development, economic opportunity. This final report, this 2020 report that just came out, while as Zainab says that 6 out of 10, most of the responses from young people, from everyone, 6 out of 10 were better off, yet we noticed that in 2020, which covers the period from 2010 to 2019, we had deterioration. Deterioration in security and the rule of law, deterioration in participation, deterioration in human rights. We need to talk. What happened? I need to hear from some of you. And one thing I'm so glad about the IIAG is the introduction in 2020 report, a new index. As a matter of fact, you may call it the most important index. Citizens' voices, where each of you and your colleagues all over the 54 countries had an opportunity to weigh in and to say how you judge the performance of government, not only in these areas, but generally. And so let's talk about it. What happened? Why did we have this decline in these areas? What are the other areas that concern you as young people that we need to all work on as leaders of countries? I want to listen to you and raise any issue that you feel important and relevant for our discussion so it can be a very active, interactive, very robust discussion among us. So I say that just to start the conversation, but I want to hear from you.
Madam President, thank you. In 2015, when you launched the decentralization in Bon County, I was there as a Mo Ibrahim Fellow with Dr. Lopez. And that also informs the importance of the power of this index in starting to look at the areas around rural area. And what does it mean for governance when we improve the data and the understanding of what's happening in rural area where the majority of Africans still live. And because of the voices that you all have at the foundation and also you, Madam President, you can start to make sure that this issue around rural data is more informed. I know IFAD is the one that used to produce it, focusing on agriculture, but they no longer do it every 2 years. Now I think it's every 2 years from what I understand, but there's a real need there. Thank you.
Once again, my name is Ahmed Kone from Liberia. I am a co-founder of Smart Liberia, President Sirleaf. I'm here on our board, and it's so when I went through the report, I found a really concerning issue, especially when it comes to Liberia. I realized in 2017, from 2017 to like now, we've declined in terms of political participation and rule of law. And having you, President Sirleaf, actually here to like entertain some of these discussions with us, what do you think? I don't know, this is supposed to be me reflecting on the report generally, but I can't help but, you know, ask this question as to what do you think actually went wrong or is going wrong in Liberia currently that is making us to go down or that is making us to decline in terms of the overall report on governance?
I just want to agree with both Mo and Her Excellency, especially as a Ugandan. Though I am living in South Africa, I am Ugandan, and I suppose you've all seen what has happened in Uganda with our recent election. As a Ugandan who has only had one president my whole life, I'm not motivated to vote. I'm not motivated to participate because you almost go in with the idea that you will fail or you will lose or you will be attacked in some form. So there is a general fear amongst the youth of Uganda that even if we participate, even if we put our foot forward, nothing's going to change. So there's general disillusion as well. And I'm saying this while commending Bobby Wine. I support him from where I am. I'm not afraid to say so. But there is a general fear amongst the youth that if we do anything, you will be attacked, arrested, beaten, and dehumanized. So I suppose that's why in Uganda,
I'm very sad to see that the index has shown that there's been a huge deterioration over the last decade. And it's driven by a precarious situation of security on the ground. And it's unfortunate the situation that I've heard in Uganda, and I feel for you as my African sister, but I've witnessed this firsthand in my country in Sudan, where I've seen the youth really leading the movement towards the revolution. And unfortunately, a lot of lives were lost. There was a lot of destruction, but it was so inspiring to see their level of dedication and motivation. Despite these obstacles, they still went ahead and they protested for 8 months until the president was eventually deposed, and now they're in this transitional council. All this to say is that, you know, we might be scared and we might be marginalized, and our voices might not want, they might try to quiet our voices, but there's hope at the end of the tunnel. If you can look at my country, that's one example. And I'm very excited to see that the first time there's a dedication to youth voices being heard, because I feel like that's very important, and it's something that's not very often accounted for or recognized or even trying to be qualified in some way.
I just want to make a comment about what Gertrude said earlier. Like, she's from Uganda and I'm from Gabon. I feel you. I grew up myself under the rule of one president, and now his son is in charge. And most of the time we ask ourselves the question, like, what the youth can do. I mean, we expect everything coming from the government, and obviously we have people in power who don't really pay attention of what the youth has to say. And we make it easy, and I think we make it easy for them in participation. For example, like the same situation that happened in Uganda, it happened also in Gabon. For example, like people have a low interest to register to vote because they think their vote is not going to count. And I think we are wrong on that part, because when we don't participate, when we don't go to vote, when we don't make choices, we make the electoral fraud easy for them, because the member of the political party, they will register and they will vote. So probably most of those presidents, they win without doing a lot of effort in terms of electoral fraud. But if the majority of us, we contribute and go to vote, it will be difficult for them to pass through.
I wanted to add to the point Your Excellency mentioned, and from my field of work on human trafficking and modern slavery, COVID has actually created a huge rise in trafficking in Africa, especially in the most vulnerable communities. When we talk about children, when we talk about youth, a lot of people lost their source of income, they lost their comfort zones. And I want to ask you, how do you see the future of Africa in combating human trafficking, not only under a social justice or rule of law, but also from the economic perspective, because it's an issue that has been neglected from the development sector to look at it from an economic point of view, where it is actually in the heart of economic justice and rights. So what can we do in Africa? Because we are still way behind when it comes to combating trafficking and slavery.
Our leaders just need to move from rhetoric to action in policy implementation. Most of our countries have those policies that address human trafficking, but they're not implemented because we say a lot, but we don't enforce as we should. And so it calls upon each country leaders to do more for enforcing action. It calls on our regional institutions, like African Union, our continental institution, the regional ones like ECOWAS and others, to do more in enforcing those policies that already exist.
We just organized a webinar on COVID-19 governance and human rights in Senegal. What we realized is that there is a deterioration in terms of rule of law, participation, especially gender. And I wanted to ask, how do leaders, African leaders right now, overcome the dilemma of ensuring participation, communicating rightly with their citizens, informing them, giving them the right information about why we need to have the emergency measures in place, whether it is the curfews or the restrictions in movements, when at the same time consulting them. How do we overcome this dilemma? Because we have seen a lot of protests in Senegal, in the two main cities, Thiès and Dakar, after these measures have been taken. The second question is relating to gender. How do we address the hidden pandemic, which is the rise of gender-based violence? That the fact that a lot of youth are currently leaving schools, there are a lot of domestic violence in houses within the pandemic, and no option for these victims to speak up. So these are the two questions that I had. Thank you.
On the response to COVID-19, I do agree that the effect of it will be captured even more by the next index report. Because the pandemic hasn't even stopped. It's still moving, it's still moving at a pace that is developing into different kinds of variants, that are more intense in its effects. So we'll feel the effect of it on our economies for some time to come. But many young people have responded to this COVID-19. I mean, we have a group of young people in my program of women in development. We call the IIAG leaders. These are young, women who have formed a network, who exchange information, who in their communities individually do things, to be able to combat the pandemic. And so in that respect, I think youth have played a part. But you are right that too many times youth are not giving the prominence, the participation that they need and that they demand. And so my urge to all youth is that make sure you work individually and collectively, to demand your rights, to understand your rights, to understand your laws and your constitution and what you can do. And it is not an option not to vote. You have to vote. It's more than a right. It's an imperative. And then when you do that, then you can take a stand. Because if you vote and your vote is not counted, then you can speak up. And then you must reach out to others so that it's not just a few that will vote because it's the right thing to do, but that everybody does it because that's what they have to do. And that then brings the response from your leaders. We can all do more for gender. We can all do more for the protection of people in society. And let me say that governments have primary responsibility, but young people have a responsibility also. the responsibility to do what you can do, the responsibility to speak out, the responsibility to exchange information and network among yourselves, the responsibility to work in civil society organizations which have a strong voice in demanding accountability from leaders. That's how you demand participation. Sometimes it's not given to you, but in many cases by your action, by your collective insistence, you can demand it.
It's time to say goodbye. Thank you very much for making the time and being part of this inaugural In Conversation with Mo and Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. It's been really a phenomenal conversation. And the key takeaways is young people have a voice and have agency to make that transformative change. So take that message onwards. We will be coming back with more of these series regularly, like Mo mentioned at the beginning of the session. Thank you very much for those that have joined us from home. Goodbye. We're now saying bye-bye to everyone. It's been really delightful.
We'll be monitoring your action and your performance yourselves in your country. So now that you've taken a stand here in this meeting, we'll be looking at what you do afterward, and we'll look for you to claim your leadership.
Great. So the eyes are on you. Make sure you take action. The index is a fantastic tool for keeping governments to account. So use the tools available for you. Right. Thank you very much and goodbye. I'm just saying bye-bye to the audience watching from home.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mo.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you all.
Thank you, President.
Salam.